wealthiest people I've ever met don't have the new iPhone. They have the iPhone from 6 years ago. Same chipped corners, same slightly faded buttons, same battery they replaced once in 2023 and called it a day. And it's not because they can't afford to upgrade. They can buy 100 new phones tomorrow without flinching. They just won't. So today we're talking about why. Because once you understand the answer, it's going to change how you think about every other purchase you make for the rest of your life. This isn't really about phones. Phones are just where it shows up first. Quick context. There's an assumption baked into modern advertising that more money equals more new stuff. Bigger house, newer car, latest gadget, freshest fit. And for a slice of the wealthy population, usually people who became wealthy very recently, that's accurate. They spend exactly the way the commercials told them to. But the deeper you go into the actual data on millionaires, especially first-generation millionaires, the people who built it from nothing, the picture flips completely. Decades of research going back to the famous Millionaire Next Door studies show the same pattern over and over. The richer someone actually is, the less of it tends to show up on their body or in their hand. The 6-year-old iPhone is just the most visible symptom of an entirely different operating system for thinking about money. Let's break down what's actually going on in their head. Part 1. The Warren Buffett Mind. Warren Buffett, net worth somewhere north of $100 billion, used a basic Samsung flip phone for years. Years. He didn't switch to a smartphone until 2020, and even then, he was kind of dragged into it. The man's company is one of the largest shareholders in Apple on the planet. He understands the iPhone perfectly. He just didn't see why he personally needed the new one. Here's the question. Why? And here's the way Buffett thinks, which is the actual secret. Every dollar he doesn't spend is a dollar that compounds. If you assume even a modest 7% annual return on invested money, $1,200 not spent on a new phone today becomes roughly $2,400 in 10 years, $4,800 in 20, close to $10,000 in 30. That sounds extreme for a phone, but the millionaire mind doesn't see $1,200 as $1,200. It sees the future version of the $1,200, the version that's been working in the market for 30 years. And once you train yourself to see that future number every time you reach for your wallet, a lot of obvious purchases stop looking obvious. This isn't about being cheap. It's about pricing things in their full lifetime cost. The new phone isn't $1,200. It's $1,200 plus the future value of that $1,200, and you have to decide if the marginal upgrade is worth the whole stack. For most upgrades, most years, the answer is no. Part 2. Status signals have completely inverted, and most people haven't noticed. For most of the 20th century, displaying wealth meant making it visible. Big logos, loud cars, watches the size of dinner plates. The whole game was, I have it, and I want you to know. Around the early 2010s, something started to shift. Tech founders started showing up in t-shirts and jeans. Old money families went deeper underground. Fashion houses leaned into quiet luxury. Same astronomical prices, no logos, only readable to other people in the club. The smartphone fits this pattern perfectly. For someone trying to look successful, the new iPhone is the easiest, most visible upgrade you can buy. It says, I have $1,200 and I want everyone to see it. For someone who actually is successful, who isn't trying to prove anything to a stranger across the table, that signal becomes embarrassing. It says, you still need the validation. The flex inverts, showing up to a meeting with a 5 or 6-year-old phone, slightly scuffed, while you're closing a deal in the high 7 figures. That's the flex. It says, you don't think about phones the way the person across from you thinks about phones, because you don't have to. And here's the part that should sting a little. If you'd feel genuinely uncomfortable being seen with an older phone, if you'd worry about what people think when you pull it out at a meeting or a dinner, that's diagnostic. That feeling is telling you you're using your phone as a status proxy. And if you're doing it with your phone, you're almost certainly doing it with 100 other purchases too. The phone is the canary. Part 3. The phone plateau nobody in marketing wants to admit. Here's what's true that you'll never hear in a launch keynote. Smartphones plateaued around 2018-2019. The iPhone 11, the iPhone 12, devices that are now 6 and 7 years old, they still run iOS, they still run every major app. The cameras still take photos that look great on Instagram. The differences between them and the latest model are real, but mostly cosmetic. Pro mode this, ProRes that. A camera that's 6% better in low light. A processor benchmark only YouTubers care about. None of it changes what 98% of people actually do with their phones, which is text, scroll, watch, listen, and occasionally take a picture of a dog. The wealthy people I've talked to about this, and I have, this is a real conversation I've had with people running funds, running companies, running real money. They all say some version of the same thing. The phone is fine. It's been fine for years. The new one is slightly better. But slightly better isn't a reason to do anything. Slightly better is how they catch you. That's the trick of the upgrade cycle. Each year, the improvement is small enough that any individual upgrade feels reasonable. But chained together over a decade, you're spending $10,000 to $15,000 to skate 1 or 2 years ahead of where you'd naturally be anyway. The plateau means the patient person loses almost nothing for waiting, and the impatient person pays for the same phone over and over. Part 4. The hidden tax of newness. There's a concept that comes up a lot in interviews with very successful people. Decision minimization. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Obama narrowed his suits down to 2 colors, Zuckerberg with the gray t-shirts. The argument is always the same. Your brain has a finite amount of decision-making fuel each day, and every decision drains it, even tiny ones. So they ruthlessly remove low-value decisions from their lives, so they have more horsepower for the high-value ones. The new phone is a low-value decision pretending to be a high-value one. You spend evenings watching reviews. You compare storage tiers, color options, whether to upgrade now or wait for next year's model. You research trade-in values. You back up your old phone, set up the new one, restore everything, fix what didn't restore properly, transfer your eSIM, re-download apps, log back into 70 services, and repair your watch and your headphones and your car. That's not nothing. That's days of your year, every couple of years, spent on something that returns essentially zero to your actual life. The self-made, operational kind of millionaire protects their attention like it's their most expensive asset, because it is. Buying a new phone is letting Apple's marketing department reach into your calendar and book 3 days of your time for free. The 6-year-old phone isn't really a money decision. It's a time and attention decision. The money is just the easiest way to measure it. Part 5. Phone as tool versus phone as identity. Watch a wealthy operator handle their phone for a day. They drop it on the table. They use it sometimes without a case. The screen is a little scratched. They're not precious about it. It does a job. The job is send messages, take calls, navigate, occasionally read something. When the job is done, they put it down and don't think about it. Now watch most of us handle our phones. Cases, screen protectors, careful placement, constant checking, anxious updates. The phone isn't just a tool, it's an extension of self. Cracking it feels like a personal injury. This isn't a moral judgment, it's just a description. People who think of phones as identity tend to upgrade them like they're upgrading themselves. People who think of phones as tools upgrade them when the tool stops working. Battery dead, screen cracked beyond use, software no longer supported. 2 completely different relationships. 2 completely different bills. If you can shift even partially from one to the other, you don't just save money. You change the gravitational pull of an entire category of stuff in your life. Phones, laptops, watches, cars. Anything that can be either a tool or a status object becomes massively cheaper the moment you decide which one it is for you. Part 6. The hidden lesson. If the takeaway from this video is, I'm going to keep my phone for an extra 2 years. I've failed. The phone is the smallest, easiest example of a much bigger pattern. The same logic applies to cars, to kitchen renovations, to wardrobes, to the question of whether you need the bigger apartment, the second car, the upgraded everything. Every time you replace something that still works because something newer exists, you're paying not just the dollar cost, but the opportunity cost, the time cost, the attention cost, and the identity cost of repeatedly telling yourself, what I have is no longer enough. Wealthy people, the ones who stay wealthy, train themselves out of that loop, slowly, deliberately, across hundreds of small decisions. The 6-year-old iPhone is just the visible tip. Underneath it is someone who's quietly opted out of a treadmill that everyone else is still running on every day for the rest of their working life. So to recap how they actually think about it, every dollar saved compounds, and they price things in their lifetime cost, not their sticker cost. They've noticed that status signals flipped and that visibly chasing newness now reads as insecurity, not success. They know the phone plateaued and the upgrade is mostly marketing. They protect their time and attention like a finite resource. They treat the phone as a tool, not as an identity. And they apply the same lens to every other purchase in their life. The 6-year-old iPhone isn't a hack. It's a symptom of someone who's already done the work in their head. Now your turn. I'm curious. What's the oldest piece of tech you're still happily using? Drop it in the comments because I'm always shocked by the answers. People still rocking 10-year-old laptops, 15-year-old TVs, kitchen appliances from the 90s. There's a community of quiet, slightly stubborn, surprisingly wealthy people down in those threads, and you're going to recognize them when you see them. If you got value from this one, the algorithm loves a like, and there's a related video on screen right now about lifestyle inflation that pairs really well with what we just talked about. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in the next one.